we begin tonight with the power of choice. As all of you faithful readers tuning in right now have made a choice to watch this program, you know what you want, and we're very thankful that you've decided to tune in. On the other hand, there are people who choose to watch Fox, which they're perfectly entitled to do. And those viewers are doing so knowing that they're going to get a heaping dose of right-wing talking points and Trump cheerleading. They're choosing that because that's what they want. But when, say, your grandma tunes into her local news station for traffic, weather, and sports, maybe it's an NBC affiliate or an ABC or CBS, she's probably not looking for a very specific right-wing narrative from the media conglomerate who just so happens to own that station. In fact, she probably doesn't even know it's happening. But it is at scores of local stations owned by the Sinclair Broadcast Group, which owns or operates 185 local television stations across the country. New reporting by Aaron Rupar of Public Notice and Judd Legum of Popular Information highlights how Sinclair has inserted one specific right-wing narrative about President Biden's age into local broadcasts nationwide. Local anchors teed up a segment based on a recent dubious Wall Street Journal report about the president's acuity and the election, all with a virtually identical script.
A report from the Wall Street Journal questions the mental fitness of President Joe Biden. National correspondent Matt Galka reports this issue could be an election decider.
New at 4 o'clock, the Wall Street Journal is out with a new report calling into question the mental fitness of President Joe Biden.
As national correspondent Matt Galka tells us, the issue could be an election decider.
The Wall Street Journal has published a story which calls the mental fitness of President Biden into question. As national correspondent Matt Galka tells us, this issue could be an election decider.
Wall Street Journal is out with reporting calling into questions the mental fitness of President Joe Biden. As national correspondent Matt Galka tells us, the issue could be an election decider.
It's not the first time Sinclair, which is owned by right-wing businessman David Smith, has engaged in conservative propaganda. In 2018, anchors at dozens of Sinclair stations read an identical editorial to their viewers warning about fake news. But as I mentioned, this latest local news narrative is based on an article that in and of itself was highly problematic. The Wall Street Journal, owned by right-wing media mogul Rupert Murdoch, who also owns Fox, and its article on President Biden, regurgitated by dozens of Sinclair stations, relied on a single on-the-record source, former Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who told the Journal, quote, "I used to meet with him when he was vice president. I'd go to his house. He's not the same person," unquote. Now, that's the same Kevin McCarthy who Politico reported mocked Biden's age and mental acuity in public while privately telling allies that he found the president sharp and substantive in their conversations. The evidence of just how much this narrative is skewed to help Trump and hurt Biden couldn't be more clear when you watch one of the two presidential candidates behaving like this.
I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care. He's going to vote for Biden. I don't think so. I think it would be suicide before Biden, right? My relationship to MIT, very smart. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. There was a shark or you get electrocuted. I'll take electrocution every single time.
Well, that doesn't even include the part where the unhinged grandpa, convicted of 34 felony counts and indicted on dozens more, called the people who participated in a domestic terror attack on the United States Capitol warriors and complained about sweating. All of which prompted the Washington Post's Eugene Robinson to raise an important question. Is Trump okay? Thanks to the glimpse into his molting mind from the shark electrocution rant, Robinson noted, it is irresponsible to obsess over President Biden's tendency to mangle a couple of words in a speech, while Donald Trump is out there sounding detached from reality. But chances are, if you tune into Sinclair, to a Sinclair station or to Fox, you are not going to hear any dose of reality about the presumptive Republican nominee. It should alarm everyone that what you're getting from a supposedly straight news outlet with your traffic and weather together is propaganda to make you think one of these guys is mentally infirm. And it's not the sharks or electrocution guy. Joining me now is Molly Jong-Fast, Vanity Fair special correspondent and MSNBC contributor. Matthew Dowd, former Republican strategist and MSNBC senior political analyst. And Brian Stelter, Vanity Fair special correspondent and author of network of lies. Brian, I'm going to go to you first because you are our media guy. I mean, this is how broad. I want to put up this map. This is how much coverage Sinclair has across the United States. You can see that all over the country. And the thing that's important to note is that, yes, 51 of them are Fox affiliates. And my first job was as a Fox affiliate. They're not necessarily exactly like Fox. 51 are Fox. Right. ABC is 39, CBS 30, NBC 25, Univision 8. So they're pretending and masked as a normal news station.
Yes, and instead of putting just a thumb on the scale, the actual reach of Sinclair means they put an entire hand on the scale. They are having a profound influence and, frankly, a disproportionate influence compared to other local TV stations. You know, Joy, I'm glad you're talking about this story because local TV is really powerful. Yes. And there's a lot of local journalists who are outstanding. My wife's a local TV anchor. Her colleagues do outstanding work. But here's the problem with Sinclair in particular. Unlike all those other networks, unlike all those other owners, Sinclair does try to put a spin on the news. And I know a lot of the local journalists who work for Sinclair stations don't want anything to do with it. They don't like it. They don't like reading the talking points, but they have to. And here's the biggest problem of all, Joy. That Wall Street Journal story had a lot of flaws, as you said. But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work. They didn't do any of their own work at all. They just ate it up, and then they regurgitated what the Wall Street Journal said. That's the worst form of so-called journalism out there. It's not really news at all. And that's my biggest complaint about this.
Right, and they've done this before, Molly. This isn't the first time. Let me play the previous one where they got caught. And this was reading the same script on all these different stations. They got busted. Take a look.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And this was a must-run editorial. Right. And it echoed Donald Trump's attacks on the media using phrases like false news and fake stories.
Well, what we see is this conservative echo chamber, how they find a story, and you see it starts in the New York Post. Maybe it starts in the Gateway Pundit. I mean, there are, you know, dubious news sources all throughout the conservative spectrum. New York Post often goes to the Wall Street Journal, both owned by Rupert Murdoch, who has a vested interest in right-wing propaganda, who also owns Fox News. It goes to Fox, and then it sort of trickles down. So Sinclair, it's not so surprising that they do this, and we've seen that they do this, but the fact that they're using local news to get this propaganda into the minds of people who are just trying to figure out the weather and the traffic seems particularly nefarious.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matthew, I mean, from a campaign perspective, it's a powerful ally to have because this isn't people who are sort of they're choosing to go to Fox because they want that. These are people who are just sitting back, as Molly said, just listening to the news and the sports, and they're getting a propaganda narrative while at the same time they're constantly being fed the idea that Trump is vigorous and brilliant because let's just face it, as Nicole Wallace has pointed out numerous times, Fox isn't even playing him live anymore because he has become more and more demented sounding. They won't go live to him anymore. We don't go live to him. Almost no one plays his speeches. So what you're left with in just your local news world is the idea that it's Biden that's daffy, not Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation because I've come to the conclusion that what Sinclair is doing is far more dangerous than what Fox News has been doing. Far more dangerous because we all see, and most Americans see Fox News, whether you watch it or not, or hate it or not. We all know it's the same. We all kind of generally know it's the same lens. They're going to be right wing. It's going to be that. And so we filter it through that, or many people filter it through that. And accept it, whether you're part of that cult or not. The problem with Sinclair is people don't have that filter on when they watch their traffic, they watch the weather, they watch local sports and all of that. And that when you look at the level of trust for news organizations, local news is trusted far more than other news in the course of this. And I remember in 2004, Joy, that what I would say is show me what's getting reported on the local news and show me what's in the local paper in Phoenix or Detroit or Grand Rapids or whatever else. That to me is what's most important. That was before the Sinclair, and now we have this, and that to me is far more pernicious than Fox News.
Absolutely, Brian. I mean, the reality is what made Donald Trump unreelectable was not so much what necessarily we were saying here, because his voters wouldn't have watched it. It was all the stories of people dying that people were seeing on local news. And I remember saying that on this show, is that Donald Trump, what he cannot overcome is that people dying in your community ends up on your local station. And those deaths are an A block. block. They're in the top of that broadcast because it's a local tragedy, and he can't get around that. Well, thanks to Sinclair, yeah, he can.
You are, that is true to some degree. It's not true, I say overall, because as you said, even some Fox affiliates are not the same as Fox News, right? There is a lot of great work out there, but I am going to be paying attention as this election goes on to how much Sinclair continues to put that entire fist on the scale, how much these local anchors are forced to read national scripts. Because as that anchor kept saying, all those anchors said the same thing, right? They're reading the same words. Yeah. They said this could be an election decider, Joe Biden's age. Well, that's true if the media obsesses over it and ignores Trump's flaws. That will be true if the media puts its fists on the scale.
It's Hillary's emails, because the media literally only did one story. The minute those emails, Russia grabbed those emails and hacked the DNC, there literally was no other story that anyone had any interest in. And so the media does have the power to make people shape people's opinions.
Absolutely true. And remember, they tried to impeach Joe Biden. The Republicans in the House, they tried to weaponize the government against him, and they couldn't find anything. And then their main witness ended up in jail. So, this is all they have, is that Joe Biden is 3 years older than Donald Trump. It's not like he's 20 years or even 10 years. The guy is 3 years older.
Right. And also he's 3 years older and his brain don't work good.